How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? My name is RuffledRowlit, and welcome back to a brand new rumored leak video about Pokemon. Let's get started right off the bat. Now, first things first, today we're going to be talking about a lot of different things. Most of it in the beginning here is going to be about Riddler-Coup. For those who do not know, this is a legitimate leaker. I always have to stress this in the videos because of new people that might be watching that don't know, but this is genuinely a leaker right here. His name is Riddler-Coup. He's been tweeting out stuff for the past, I want to say, 3 years, and he has been correct pretty much 99% of the time. And basically, he leaves these riddles. Currently, he's riddling about a bunch of different stuff, and we're going to go through all of these posts. And like I said, there's a lot of them. I've got, like, I don't even know, at least 50 tabs open or something. So let's get started with this one. He says, how many abilities does this have? 1 or 2 or 3 or more? It's weird that he emphasizes or more here, because usually if you think about Pokemon, I think the most amount, like, what do you have? So you have like a regular ability, a second ability, or a hidden ability. So that will put it at 3. If it's 4, then that fourth ability could be the form change that this Pokemon's going to make. You guys know this is Terrapagos. This is his like baby form. And we know it's going to be able to also, you know, gain that bigger, more terrestrialized looking form, which is not necessarily going to be a terrestrial Pokemon form, but literally like how you have currently. If you guys have played Pokemon, the Teal Mask, you can give different masks to Ogerpon, which it can wear, and when it terrestrializes, those masks actually show up in a larger form. But yeah, it's a bit strange, so I'm wondering what he means by that. Reminder, Sudachi 2 only got 4 new abilities according to Datamine. Hint, only 2 new Pokemon got these 4 abilities. So again, he says Sudachi 2. Sudachi 2 specifically referring to, that's the code name for the second DLC, the Indigo Disc. And it says the actual second DLC only has 4 new abilities, which I'm assuming one of those, I mean, new ones is going to be, one of them is going to be Duraludon, like the Arcaludon's new ability. The one of them has to be for, of course, Dokutaro, the brand new poison, mythical, legendary, whatever it's going to be. And one of them has to be, well, for Terrapagos. Well, one's got to be for Terrapagos, and then the fourth one, I don't really know what it's going to be. Hint, only 2 new Pokemon got these 4 abilities. So it's interesting. We see some responses down here from other people and what they think, and responses specifically to this post says, people are saying like, you know, well, we're guessing that Terrapagos only has 1 ability, same with Dokutaro. The other 2 new abilities would be for Arcaludon and the Diplin evolution, yes, as Paradox forms all have the same ability, yes, which is like Quark Drive, if I remember correctly, right? I think that's the ability they have, which, yeah, it's a bit strange because what else would it be, right? So Terrapagos got 2 new abilities, and some other people like Temple here says, okay, so definitely it's either 1 ability for Diplin, Evo, plus 3 for Terrapagos, or 1 ability for Dokutaro and 3 for Terrapagos, which also could be possible, or we'll have to wait and see how it turns out. But there's no guarantee that all the abilities are brand new for it. It could be some existing abilities as well, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be like totally new ones. But let's continue on down the rabbit hole here. Like I said, we've gone through a little bit of this, so again, I want to hear what you guys think about this in the comment section down below. Next up, have you ever wondered why the designs of Momo is that simple? Now, when he talks about Momo here, he's talking about Momotaro. Now, just going to quickly, briefly explain this before we continue, because for some people this might be a bit confusing. Momotaro is a story about a peach boy, a little kid in Japanese mythology who goes on an adventure with like 3 animals. Now, the thing is, in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, in the DLC, we're going to get a new Pokemon based on Momotaro, the peach boy, a Pokemon that looks like a peach, but it's poisonous, and it basically is the reason that Kieran kind of went apeshit and kind of evil. So that's kind of what's going on there. It's kind of difficult to explain the whole premise behind it, but there's a brand new Pokemon that's already been hinted in like 3 different places within the Teal Mask, and that Pokemon's gonna return and have relevance. But then he's asking, why is the design so simple? There's definitely got to be some truth that I barely see people mention in speculation online. So, and then here he posts like a GIF of what looks to be He-Man. I think it's He-Man. Yeah, I think it's literally like, yeah, it's He-Man right there. And it's like somebody, I guess, on the side here transforming of some sort. And I mean, I'm assuming, right? Jan responds, sure. What kind of Pokemon will have simple designs? And that includes 4 different pictures here of 4 different Pokemon. You don't want to tell people directly. And then there's some interesting stuff, you know, like that he mentions here, which I can't really translate. Simple design can mean mythical Pokemon, pre-evolution, basic form, and uncatchable forms. The very later gives the sense to your depends, really, reply, right? So what he's trying to say here, Amashinu here, basically saying that whatever he's mentioning here means that the reason Momo is so small is perhaps because we're not seeing the full-fledged version of it. Like the small thing we're seeing might not even be a Pokemon that's, you know, This might not even be a Pokemon. It's like a form. Like it's like a early version before it actually is a form. It's like basically kind of similar to Zygarde cells, right? Like, of course, Zygarde is a Pokemon on its own, but, you know, the cells kind of like, if you put them together, then you get the, you know, 100%, 80%, whatever they're called, different forms. Something along those lines. You can see Momo is catchable, depends, is what he says there. So it could be possible that as we run around, and that's what I'm assuming he might mean here, is that it's not necessarily that what we see, the little peach, that's necessarily the final Pokemon of you know, Dokutaro, which is the name of it, because Momotaro is the name of the actual Peach Boy from the story, but in the game it's going to be Dokutaro, which I think is Poison Peach Boy, or something like Poison Boy, something like that. But what I think is happening here, my speculation, okay, is that maybe, based on what we're reading from some of these replies here and how he's responding to people, is that we're probably going to be seeing the little, like, peaches themselves all around Area 0. I don't think Momotaro is going to have anything to do with the actual story we see in the Indigo disc. When I say story Indigo disc, I mean like the Blueberry Academy. I think we're going to deal with maybe Dokutaro down in Area 0 specifically. Like, we're going to go down there and we might find multiple trees or multiple Dokutaro, like several of them that you have to collect. And then once they've all been collected, they create whatever the actual Pokemon is, right? Like the final form of it. I'm thinking it's going to go in some kind of direction like that. But again, we have to wait and see. And then here's just a reply again. We'll continue on. He says the following post right here. And again, he just says, reminds me of this. Maybe shining bright and big and bright, even though the sun is still out. I'm tweeting birds, lol. And this is a reply to a old tweet here where he just said, good morning, everybody. Let's do our best this week, which is basically these tweets he makes all the time. This is Junichi Masuda, for those who don't know. Junichi Masuda is currently works at the Pokemon Company, but he also is one of the people who made the music for Pokemon. He also directed Pokemon games, and he's been working at Game Freak for, like, since basically its inception. He is one of the main people at Pokemon, okay? Junichi Masuda is very important to the Pokemon Company, okay? And he's very influential there. And usually he would make these tweets where he would take a picture of the sky, and shortly after these tweets, there would be a Pokemon announcement happening. He tweeted this on the 16th, which could imply that we should be ready next week for an announcement for the release of the second DLC, which I think is going to happen next week. I'm just feeling it. And the fact that even Koo's bringing it up is a little sus. But saying that it reminds him of this when he tweeted out the sun and the moon, right? Like, it was a day, but there was a moon in the sky. And what do I mean by that? Well, basically, this tweet that you see in the tweet here, this literal tweet, is when he basically hinted at sun and moon. He basically hinted sun and moon with this, and he's done it before. There was a picture of him with a sword and a shield, like, you know, taking a picture, and that was before Sword, like slightly before Sword and Shield were announced, when nobody even knew what they were going to be called, which is kind of crazy. So let's move on to the next thing. He says, not a child. Oh, this was supposed to be replied to someone that commented on a former tweet, just got misplaced outside. So, I mean, I wonder if that's the case. I wonder if it's true. Some people do make, like, I'm not sure if we can actually see it here, like the quote tweets anymore. No, we can't, which is annoying. But yeah, like, well, actually, no, view post engagements. Let's see, repost. Oh, no, there's the quote tweets. I want to see if there's anybody that's actually posted anything about it, but no. I'm not sure of the context. You're correct, a large portion of the player base. But yeah, no, that's unrelated. Nonetheless, though, let's move on to the next thing. So, this is the big one, okay? This is the one that got me, like, so confused, and I've had so many people ask me about this, and I'm like, I have no idea what he means by this. But basically, I bet you will be unable to look steadily at this thing anymore after playing Sudachi 2. And it's a picture of a Master Ball. Just a regular Master Ball, a Master Ball we've seen before. He says, I bet you will be unable to look at it steadily anymore after playing the second DLC. Now, that could mean a few things. One possible thing is that maybe the Master Ball we're going to be given, or one we're going to receive, is going to fail, right? Maybe it fails, literally fails when trying to capture a Pokemon. And then we're like, uh-oh, this is the first time the Master Ball, the literal Master Ball, fails. Like, the one Pokeball that's guaranteed to capture actually fails. Maybe that's what he's trying to imply here. Maybe that's what's being, like, hinted at. He says, enjoy checking out your clever, funny comments below. Some people hit the bullseye perfectly. And then we just look at some of the tweets here. For example, Midnight Sketch just said, it took me staring at this JPEG of the Master Ball to realize they look kind of similar, which is just a Tentacruel. And then here you have, if the Loyal 3 are retainer Pokemon, could their master be the master Pokemon? Right, so a retainer is just like, let's just get the literal definition of it. Retainer definition. So the definition of a retainer It's literally a thing that holds something in place. So if these things hold something in place, they're retainer Pokemon. Are they the ones keeping something in place? Are they maybe the ones keeping Dokutaro in place, right? By basically, you know, being connected to it? Or are they being kept in place by something? I don't really know. The fact that they have these, like, you know, these literal, like, chains attached to them means, like, they're chained. They're, you know, they're stuck. It's really strange. And is it possible, yeah, that Dokutaro is basically the master Pokemon, and we won't be able to capture it with a Master Ball? Like, a Master Ball will literally fail against it. I don't know. If we continue to, because he did say here that some people actually got a bullseye perfectly on the spot, right? Some people actually got it right. Some people, like, posted basically a picture here of Sada and Turo actually using Master Balls to catch the paradoxes, which is interesting. Anyways, we continue down through. Gonna predict Kieran using the Master Ball in Dokutaro, but it fails because he sucks. It may be a special Pokemon. You must use this to get it. I'm going to guess either Terapagos causes some BS making our Master Ball fail, or Kieran uses it to catch Terapagos before us. I don't know. The final battle of Scarlet and Violet had those things used to capture Paradox Pokemon in a creative way. If this is used in-game, it's going to be a Pokemon that's worth the trouble. Oh yeah, professors use the Master Balls to catch the Paradox Pokemon, right. Hopefully there's some more on that, because while it sounded hype, it also seems confusing. I'm going to say, if anything, there'll be a cutscene where you can select a ball against Terapagos or Dokutaro. You'll throw the ball, but then the Master Ball overtakes your ball and catches it. The camera cuts to Karen, who says, "Not this time. This one's mine." Which actually would be cool. So basically, we're going to try to capture, right? That's like the theory that they're trying to say here. That maybe we're going to try to capture Dokutaro, and we're going to fail because Kieran's going to use a Master Ball. And that's why he maybe says, like, you'll be unable to look at it the same way after playing the second DLC, which is like, I guess that could be the case. Could also be something else. Could be literally that Dokutaro is used to create this Master Ball. Maybe some BS like that. I don't think that's going to be the case, though, but it could be the case that Kieran is going to literally steal the Pokemon we're trying to capture, aka Dokutaro, before we can do it by using a Master Ball. That's one theory. The other one is, literally, it's a Tentacruel. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, it's a Tentacruel. I don't think so. It's just a bit of a joke. But it is strange. Again, it's just a bit of an odd one. I don't have much context for it. If you guys have any theories of what this could mean, what he's trying to say, please let me know. As we go down here, there's not a lot of, like, context either. I'm guessing it's going to be either Titan-like battle or raid battle for Terapagos and Dokutaro, with guaranteed catch like for Ogerpon and Blood Moon or Shaluna, so no need for the Master Ball. Also, maybe Karen now has all his Pokemon in Master Balls like Sada and Turo, but what would that make us feel any different? So he's fully armed, so I'm going to guess he has one or multiple Master Balls. I believe he will also be able to steal either Terapagos or one of our Pokemon from us as a form of revenge for taking Ogerpon. That could be an interesting theory. I actually like this one a lot. And it comes from also him replying to something he said before, which is, what will he snatch from you this time in Sudachi 2? By the way, he's fully armed. Oh my god, it's perfectly, yes, oh my god. RNT Super, 100% correct. So I'm gonna guess this is the actual premise. We talked about him being fully armed before in a previous video, but it didn't make sense until now. Fully armed literally means he's got himself Master Balls, he's got a team that's stacked out, and plus maybe has, like, some power of Dokutaro on his side. Maybe after all of that and everything, he's going to literally stop us from capturing a Pokemon. Like, he's going to interrupt us. So when he says he's fully armed, he literally has multiple Master Balls, which is going to be a problem for us, because we only have one, right? We don't have multiple, unless you've done some sketchy stuff. But, you know, like, we don't have multiple. He has multiple somehow. And he's going to steal, like, a Pokemon from us, literally. Which is, like, by the fact that he literally says, what will he snatch from you this time? Is he going to steal the Master Ball from us? Or is he going to steal a Pokemon from us? Is he going to steal our team? Is he going to steal, like, what is he going to take? Is he going to steal our friends? I don't know. But he's going to take something from us. Maybe Dokutaro or Terapagos, the turtle. One of those two. One of them is going to be yoinked from us, nonetheless. But something is going to happen, and he's going to be the one to cause it and steal it from us, which is just bizarre. But let's move on to the next thing, and I just knocked my monitor out. Now, this one is the next big one. Okay, I will remind you, it will remind you of some Gen 7 Pokemon, and it's a peach, a literal peach. You got the, you know, the freaking, I forget the nut. You got a nut inside of it. I forget the words, I'm sorry. English is not my first language. But yeah, he says, yep, it can open. Now, this would mean that the Dokutaro that we have seen, right? And I want to see if I can find the quote tweets from this one. But here, okay. So, is it possible? He says here specifically, it will remind you of a Gen 7 Pokemon. I love what Pen Paladin made. So, shout out to Pen Paladin, by the way, for this just amazing post. Many are theorizing that Dokutaro, the Peach Pokemon, will be some sort of like one of the Tapus. I can see this. It definitely needs some transformation to look cooler if it's the big bad. And it fits with Momotaro popping out of the Peach, which is what the Peach Boy does, right? Literally he's born out of a peach or something. And here is a really cool concept of what that could look like. And this is genuinely so freaking cool. Now, of course, it does look maybe a little too much like, whatchamacallem? Like a little maybe too much similar to the actual ones, which is fine. But even here, Soul says the exact same thing. Everyone keeps saying Minior, and it could be that too, because Ku said some Genso Pokemon, which is plural. But I personally think that he meant these ones. I almost didn't even give this explanation and just said Tapu Doku exists now. And also, I don't know about what else. Also, I don't know how, but always thought that Tapu Lele was a snail. Looks like she's a beautiful butterfly instead. But either way, yes, this is very, like, as close as it can get. Like, if they close up, they make a very solid shape. You guys can literally see it down here, what kind of shape it creates. And if we look at the other ones, they have the same thing. They literally become into these little, like little balls or whatever you want to call them. So is it possible that Dokutaro, maybe if you, I'm guessing it's something going to be like along these lines. You're going to be able to collect a bunch of, if we go back to the original tweet, right here. So you're going to be able to collect, right? Collect a bunch of little Momotaros, little Peaches, little Peach versions of it. You're going to combine them. And then once you've combined them or given them to the Peach, it will open up and we'll get something similar to this. Now, of course, it might look more epic or might look more... I'm actually, to be honest with you guys, I actually love this one more than whatever they're going to make. I'm going to be real. This probably looks cooler than whatever they're going to create. But it does give a general idea of where this could go. Like, it literally, the shape, you see the shape right here. This is how, like, it actually looks. This is in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. This is in there. There's a plushie that depicts it, and this image is also hidden inside of the story elements of the Kitakami story. So, is it possible that whatever way we're going to get it, it's going to literally open up into this after you collect multiple, you know, similar to Zygarde cells. Collect enough of them, and then it's going to pop up. You know, that's what I'm kind of looking at this as. That's where I'm seeing it go. But we continue on to the next post. Of course, there was a few replies here. People saying Minior. Even Pen Paladin said that initially, which connects also back to a previous post where he says, coherence, all clues come together, which basically it was these little, like, what you call pieces of food. And these pieces of food also relate to a previous thing he posted where he basically mentioned that parts of Momotaro might be edible, like you might be able to eat them, and they might work in a similar way to these, like, little mints and whatever, which is possible, like the mochis. And the only Pokemon that's close to that in Pokemon, you know, like the universe, especially from Gen 7, which is what he mentions, is the Miniors, which all have different, like, colors and whatnot, which, by the way, Minior is a really cool Pokemon. I kind of just forget that it exists, but it's kind of a cool Pokemon. Nonetheless, though, it could be something like this, but again, we don't really know. We're gonna have to wait and see. And maybe, like, what he says here is, I'm gonna say Minior, who also posted different mochi colors. My guess is Dokutaro changes types, maybe steals Tarapago's ability. Or, as we said, it could be this. It's either gonna be in one of these two directions. We just don't know which one. We continue on, though. Terrestrialized state or Terrastall form. So what he's saying here is like, I'm guessing we're talking about Terrapagos. Is it in a terrestrialized state? Or is it a Terrastall form that we see the big version of it? What's the counterpart of these terms in Gen 8? Think twice before answering. They can stack. Okay, so let me think. What's the counterpart of these terms in Gen 8? So Terrestrialized state and Terrastall form. So Terrestrialized state is any Terrestrialized Pokemon. That would be Dynamax. And Terrastall form is equivalent to Gigantamax form. That's the closest thing I can think of. He says think twice. Well, I can't think of anything else. There's, if he says Generation 8, that's Sword and Shield. The only thing I can imagine in Sword and Shield is literally that. There's no other way. There's no other way to actually twist it. I really don't know. And they say both, and that's what I feel like too. It just makes sense that it'll be both of them. It's going to have a terrestrialized state, but also a terrestrialized form. Similar to, I want to say like something like this. Like if you terrestrialize the regular version, it'll just look regular. But if you terrestrialized it, you know, with maybe something attached to it, or maybe the completed version, the full version, the maybe even evolved version of Terrapagos, then it's going to have a Terrastall form that's going to be slightly different, and just add like a mask onto it or something like that. Like think about how the masks work in Pokemon, you know, the teal mask with Ogerpon. Kind of similar to that is what I'm expecting, but we'll have to wait and see. Moving on. Did you know one of the former mightiest Pokemon is supposed to be terrestrialized state, but failed to debut because of some technical problems? Now, the former mightiest Pokemon. Now, the former mightiest Pokemon, that can go in many directions. Of course, Blaze first says here it could be Charizard, like that could be the case. I don't know. Charizard, bro, the official designs so many forms for it. Maybe, you know, somebody says here, like Anime T says, could be the mightiest of them all. You know, like, I guess Arceus, or as they want to call it, Arceus. I'm sorry, I just prefer saying Arceus. But either way, I don't really know which one it would be, but basically this implies that there was supposed to be a Pokemon that was supposed to have a terrestrialized state, right? Again, terrestrialized state, but it doesn't get it. Which, again, makes me wonder if I misunderstand the difference between the two. Is maybe terrestrialized state the equivalent of Gigantamax, and terrestrial form is the equivalent of, whatchamacallit, like, just Dynamax, right? Because there's two of those. There's, like, only really one way to look at it. Again, I don't know. I could be totally, like, it says they can stack, which really is strange. But here you say, Amashinu says, proof terrestrial form plus terra state, which... This is what I said by, like, you know, maybe once it's like a complete version of itself. And I think my theory there might be correct. So maybe once you have Terrapagos, like, you know, fully finished. And when I say fully finished, you got to remember there's two different versions of it. So let's just open up Pokemon Teal Mask. Like, let's just open up the actual, you know, website here, because it will give us a little bit more context. So let's open up the website and let's go to the DLC. And let's find the Pokemon themselves. So if we go down, I think it should be, if we go to, I think, let's see. Pokemon. So let's go and find our boy real quick, because it will make the context of all this way better. Is it even on the website though? It should be here, but I guess it's like hard to find it. Let's see, Pokemon section, and here it is, introducing a newly discovered Pokemon. So basically, we have two different versions of it. You have this version, which is just regular Terrapagos. This is like the small version, and basically it looks like a jewel. We've already seen that it can kind of be, almost like summon from like a Terrastall crystal almost. It probably is the Pokemon that causes all the Terrastall phenomena. But this version, right, is another version. So in part 1 of the DLC, you will encounter Ogerpon. The part 2 Indigo Disc, new Terrapagos will appear, resplendent in its glittering aura. Of course, this is the weird one, because this is where I feel like we might see the case of basically this Pokemon, this version of it, because here's what it says. This Pokemon is small in stature, so... a newly discovered Pokemon, but when push comes to shove, it can crystallize the energy in its body to form a protective shield. And I guess, apparently, it can also assume a dormant state when it feels like it, that its life is in danger by pulling its head, limbs, and tail into its shell and making itself look like a jewel. So yes, it can literally turn into a little Terrastall crystal jewel. Its splendid aura is reminiscent of the legendary Pokemon Terrapagos, but this Pokemon's name and true nature are shrouded in mystery. So... this is the thing, we actually know the name of this. This was data mined. I just forget what the name is right now, but we do know what it is. I think if we go to PokeEOS, PokeOS, sorry, they actually, I think, might have a post of it somewhere, just to see what it actually is called, as I forget the actual name now. But let's see, Scarlet and Violet, and I think we go to DLC, and if we go down here to the Teal Mask, actually, I think we scroll down. Okay, they haven't included the name yet. They literally have not. Okay, so they have not included it yet, which is unfortunate. But we don't know if this is the Terrastall form. This is literal Terrapagos. Like, they literally tell us here that this is Terrapagos. Like, what we look at right there, like, you know, oh, geez, there's a video in the background there. What we're looking at right here, that's Terrapagos. Like, this is Terrapagos itself. Like, that's the Pokemon that goes with that name. What we're seeing here is a different Pokemon, apparently, but clearly it is connected. Like, like, you know, apparently it also assumes a dormant state, blah, blah, you know, reminiscent of the legendary Pokemon Terrapagos, but this Pokemon's name and true nature are shrouded in mystery. So, is it possible that we need to collect more, like, Terrastall energy, crystals, something like that, give it to this thing, and it will turn into Terrapagos, right? Like, the actual full form of Terrapagos, like the one we see right here. And then that leads us back to this point, where when he says, is it got a terrestrialized state or a Terrastall form? Well, the mini version of like Terrapagos may be able to actually have a terrestrialized, you know, state, right? Might be able to do that. And then when it has, like, you know, when it's the final version of itself, when it's actually the full-fledged Terrapagos, it's able to again terrestrialize and have another form on top of that. That's the way I view it. Again, it could be totally wrong here, but let's move on to the next thing. This is another big post that he made, which was, again, really just out of the blue. He says, go burn everything. And I think this is a character or like a creature from Digimon, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's what I was told. And basically, I think for this one, I did get a message from someone. I think my boy Cam actually sent me this. I could be wrong though, but I think he sent me some info about this one in particular. I'm going to see if I can find it. But no, I don't have it. It's fine though. Either way, let's see what people have to say. So basically, this creature is holding a literal planet in its hands. And here's what we basically have. Is this the world turtle people used to talk about? And he says the apocalypse, which is very menacing. And Imperial Sun here says the Scarlet and Violet are indeed a reference to the Book of Revelations. And the Harlot of Babylon is arrayed in purple and scarlet, which... I mean, that's just intense. But here we have what Pen Paladin has to say. He says, Lucimon's Shadow Lord mode. Apparently, it has a Crests of the 7 Deadly Sins as its crown. Those disc-looking things could be related to the Indigo disc and how the Terra swaps types. And 2, the orb Lucimon sits on nullifies all attacks. Maybe Terra's ability makes every attack weak. So this is Lucimon, I guess, the actual Digimon itself. I think it's a Digimon. Again, don't quote me on this. But basically, as was told in the Revelation, it carries the crowns of the 7 deadly sins upon its head, and it holds the orbs of darkness, which I guess is what we're looking at right here. So do we have the same thing going on with Terrapagos? Because this thing is literally carrying, like, you know, basically looks similar with like all the like, you know, the different colors on the top there, different typings, you know, on Terrapagos' back. It's got a very similar vibe going on to it. It's very strange, but why burn everything? Good question. We don't know. Maybe it will be under control of Dokutaro. Who knows? Either way, I will go back into these, by the way. Every single post we talked about, I will go back into it in a second because we do have some theories from other people that, you know, have talked about it that I think is worthwhile talking about. So so here Lumio says, okay, only loosely related, but I hope Naganadel comes back. Prepare tissue, because I guess it's not coming back. But let's move on to the next one. He says, sometimes Arceus is cruel. Reckon your beliefs may shift after Sudachi 2, which, you know, is interesting because that's maybe saying that, you know, Naganadel is coming back in whatever the next Pokemon game is, and maybe we're going to be happy with the next Pokemon game because it might actually hold some cool stuff. Maybe that's going to be like the case here. I mean, I don't really know, but we'll have to wait and see. And then here, he just replied with wow to this post from Pen Paladin, which was again about Dokutaro opening up into this. And he just replied with wow, which that wow could either be, they could be like, I mean, 5 different things. It could be, wow, this is amazing. Or wow, this is dog shit. Or wow, your theory is totally accurate. Or wow, this guy got it right. Or wow, this guy totally got it wrong and he doesn't know anything. It could literally mean anything with the wow, but I thought it was worthwhile to point out that he even replied to this. So just keep that in mind. Keep in mind that we're going to see this thing open up. We're going to see this little peach open up and turn into something. He then posted 3-8, which is very random. Not sure what that's supposed to mean. This information can be reasoned with our past posts and official news. And then, you know, it just give us a hint about what it is, please. Something related to DLC 2. Well, yeah, obviously. But, like, you know, not a date is another one. You know, it says it's not a date for anything, which, again, is a little bit weird. And then Manny here says, we know 3 out of 8 new Pokemon coming from DLC 2. Arcaludon, Iron Crown, and Raging Bolt. So, yes, that's actually accurate. I think that's the most... like, logical thing here. We have 3 out of 8 Pokemon revealed. If we actually think about it, yeah, he's not wrong. But also, he doesn't include here, Manny doesn't include the fact that we do know Terrapagos, and we do know Terrapagos' mid-form. We do basically kind of know about Dokutaro. I mean, maybe officially we don't know about all these things, but we do know that Terrapagos is back, so maybe that's not the one either. You know, like, again, it doesn't really make much sense. And then here, 3 is the Diplin Evo. Again, dude, I'm a Shinu dude, man. I'm just giving you a follow, man. Like, this man's got so many great theories. Actually, really great breakdowns. He says 3 equals the Diplin Evo. So, yes, this is most likely a totally logical one. So you have a 3rd Diplin Evo. Right, so you got, like, think about it. You got Applin, you got Diplin, and then the 3rd evolution. Arcaludon could have a, I mean, there you could just maybe argue that it would be counted as like a 3rd one. Terrapagos is another one. So these 3 are definitely in there. And then 8 equals 3 plus Raikou, Entei, Cobalion, Terrakion. Collect elsewhere. I love this term because it relates to my domain of work. But basically, it could be something like that. Again, the numbers don't really make much sense. It's a very difficult to understand. And then maybe this is 3 out of 8 stems from a 1 out of 2. It's about availability. So what's available? 3 out of 8 possible Pokemon, 3 out of 8 forms, 3 out of 8 what exactly? That's the problem. We don't know what it's referring to. Moving on, haven't you noticed yet? Sudachi 2 is still complete without the Momo part. So I guess what this might imply, and I'm just gonna say this off the top of my head what I think, and this is just my theory. It's possible that he's trying to say that DLC 2 would still work. You can still finish it of sorts, and you can still enjoy it for what it is without taking into account Doku Taro. Like Doku Taro and the whole, you know, the little Peach Pokemon doesn't necessarily need to be dealt with to complete the DLC. Like you can actually not catch it and still complete the story. I'm guessing that's what he's talking about. But I don't know if that also includes, like, I'm guessing the way you kind of have to view DLC 2 is that we're going to be spending a lot of time in the Blueberry Academy, which is the main story, but we also have stuff to do in Paldea. We already know that's kind of been confirmed, that we're going to go back to Paldea and most likely go back into Area 0 and do some form of exploration. Thing is, though, we don't know what that is. And I'm guessing what he's saying here is you can complete the whole DLC without ever needing to deal with Doku Taro. That's at least what I'm getting from this. He says, somebody asked here, how lore heavy is DLC Part 2? I feel like there's still a lot of questions we need answers to. He says it's rich, a lot of grind. So it's rich in story, but you also have to do a lot of grinding, which I'm guessing the grinding would imply all the battles you have to do with like the BB League, which is the new Elite Four. And then he says, people ask here, on a scale of shock to head exploding, how surprised do you think we might be at what we find in Indigo Disc? Ain't most parts of DLC 2 leaked from the data mines? Which, I mean, yeah, is that a trick question? We don't really know. But I do think we're going to see some interesting stuff. We kind of already know most of it, but it's kind of going to be interesting how they're going to do all this. And yeah, let's just continue on to the next thing. This is just him replying to Jan here. Well, next time, do you agree best doing Pokemon history around the corner? And this is very strange, because here, yeah, we've got Kieran and ourselves, right? And Kieran is pissed at us. He hates us. And then you have, like, you know, a weird kind of, you know, weird situation. But he calls them a duo, because you had to duo up with him. But, you know, around the corner, I wonder what that means. I mean, we're going to definitely have a conflict with Kieran. That's the whole premise of it. We're going to be in a conflict with him the whole time. But I don't know where this can go beyond this, though. I don't really know what he's trying to hint at. He's done these posts before. Like, he's done these, like, big posts specifically talking about this. And I don't really know if much comes from it. It also said, by the way, don't forget C and N. Community is going to go crazy over that one. That just leaves A plus P. They shit-talked each other in the Area 0, which is cute. So I'm guessing we're talking about, like, Arvin and Penny, which, you know, which is A and P, and then C and N. I don't know who those would be. Clavel and I guess, you know, Nimona and someone else. I don't really, you know who, like, that would be. But I don't know. We'll have to wait and see what happens with that. Or Carmen. Okay, Carmen and Nimona. So we have Carmen and Nimona, which are going to be kind of, you know, similar or buddying up or against each other, and then as a you know, duo, Carmen and Nimona, and then Arvin and Penny, which is interesting. So yeah, I guess that's what he's trying to say. I guess we're gonna see them in the story. We're gonna see, you know, us dealing with Kieran. We're gonna see Carmen dealing with, you know, Nimona, and Arvin and Penny just kind of sticking together. And I know there's going to be some zombie stuff with them. Somebody's going to get controlled by Pokemon. I'm pretty sure Doku Taro might cause some stuff to happen. But he did mention earlier, like we already read, that there is a chance that, of course, you can complete it without dealing with him. So there's a chance that might not be the case. Either way, moving on to the next thing. We're going to have to skip through a bunch of posts here. We're going to be taking a look at some of the stuff from Pen Pal. And of course, we already talked about the Peach Pokemon. But he also has an interesting one here, because there was a post by Ridlaku where he posted which one. And then he had a picture of grass and bug. And the theory is, the working theory right now is that one of these typings is going to be given to the Dipplin evolution, the brand new Dipplin that we're going to be getting, you know, the brand new Dipplin evolution in the second DLC. Okay, based on Ku's new riddles, I think it's most likely we get Infestation Dipplin evolution with 7 heads. The 2 worms breed Infestation and killing the apple. It loses grass type, becomes first ever bug and dragon Pokemon, which would be really sick. But we'll have to wait and see if that's the case. Then, of course, we have this right here. It's a reply to, of course, this post right here from Ridlaku. We can actually go to the post itself, where he specifically said something similar would happen in Sodachi. Now, this is a character from One Piece who basically can create these basically like summon food basically from her body, these pieces of food. And he says, you know, something similar would happen in the second DLC. Coherence, all clues come together. And then here he says, I think another strong possibility of the 7-headed riddle is that instead of referring to Dipplin, it's Doku Taro, that he ends up controlling 7 people as zombies, perhaps with Mochi, but it'd be cool to see people puppeted around at the ends of his chains, lol. I don't think it's going to go that far, like he tried to show here, like from Chainsaw Man, kind of something similar to this, which it would be insane. I'm going to just put it bluntly. This would be literally nuts, but I don't really know, like, if that's going to be the case, though. I don't really know if it's going to be, you know, if that's how far it's going to go. It's going to be very, like, you know, it's going to be very mundane in Pokemon style. Like, not going to make it over the top and too crazy. And here, of course, we have again the post about the Master Ball, and here's the theory from Pen Paladin. Says, I feel like a broken record saying, yes, this is obviously about Dokutaro to every coup post, but if Dokutaro has the ability to grant wishes, maybe it is also the origin of some component of the Master Ball. The reason why it never misses, maybe Dokutaro looks like it too. Could be the case. I mean, it does resemble it a little bit. If you want to, kind of squint and look, you can be like, oh, you know what, they look similar. I mean, they do look similar. It's just undeniable. But again, we're gonna have to wait and see if that's gonna be the case. Then, looking back at this clue, and this clue says, basically was this one right here. It's just some text. If we translate that text, it says, Tiankong Yun Jian. Oh, jeez, I'm horrible at, like, pronouncing names. Looking back at this clue, if the Hydra Dipplin doesn't happen, I'll be surprised. When pasting that into Google, and the wiki for legendary sword called the Grass-Cutting Sword comes up. This was wielded by the god Susanoo to defeat an 8-headed serpent, Yamato no Orochi, which is right here. That's what it kind of is depicted as, which kind of, again, pushes this idea that Diplin's evolution is going to have, like, 7 heads. That's just, again, what it keeps pushing towards, or that it's going to have more than, like, multiple heads, basically. That's kind of like what it's, again, hinting at least as far as we can tell. Moving on, alternatively, here's a tinfoil hat theory. Dokutaro deflects a Master Ball and captures a human. The ball falls down and a crevice and isn't able to be found. Drayton is trapped in the ball for 1,000 years. He dug up in Neo Unova and becomes the protagonist for the next Legends game. This is just goofy, I know, but it's kind of a funny theory nonetheless, though. It's obviously not going to happen, but kind of funny, though. Why I think this is unlikely, though, as a possibility. Ku tweeted one of these characters links to the next games, and Terapagos' story appears to be based on Urashima Taro, the legends of a man who is trapped in a crystal palace for 300 years as time moves slower, leading to a future world. Okay. Here's what he said. One of them grasps the key of the lore, not Lacey, and it's a big spoiler for the next game after Sudachi. Which one? I'm guessing is the Drayton character because of his very, very strong resemblance to, of course, Drayton or whatever from Black and White. So yeah, again, God knows what they're trying to tell us here. But let's continue on to the next one. One more idea, and this is again about Dokutaro, is someone thinking that the Gen 7 Pokemon is the Zygarde cores. This is what I was theorizing earlier. It's a bunch of little peach guys that form a chain, a toxic chain, if you will, and it becomes a larger form. Now that I think of this, it's like a wishy-washy too, which, yeah, something like that could work. I hope that they don't do that, though. I hope if you do combine them, they actually become a proper form. Just kind of like how Zygarde turns into a proper form instead. I feel like that would be preferable, but we'll have to wait and see if anything comes from that as well. Next up, of course, we're going to talk about what Soul Silver has to say. Now, Soul Silver is a leak analyst, so fair, just so you guys know what that is referring to. And here is basically what he's talking about. We have, first of all, the post that we talked about earlier. He says, but did he succeed? It's like the case of Schrodinger's cat, is what Ku says at the bottom here. You guys can't see it, but there. It's like the case of Schrodinger's cat. Now, Schrodinger's cat, for those who do or do not know what it is, basically Schrodinger's cat is a, let's put it as it's like a philosophical way of it's like a term. It's like a concept, rather. Sorry, that's the right word. It's a concept. Basically, the Schrodinger's cat is, if you put a cat inside of a box, the cat is both dead and alive. Now, this is just it's a paradox of itself, right? It's a paradox because for you to know if the cat is both is and isn't alive in that box, like it both is and isn't, because of the fact that you can't determine it unless you open the box. So the literal like cat is both things, right? It both is and isn't existing. It exists and doesn't exist. The only way to tell if something does really truly exist or is dead or alive is by observing it, and the only way to observe it is to peek inside of the box, which you can't do. But if you were to peek inside of it, you'd know the answer. However, you can't. It's impossible to peek inside of the box. So the cat both is alive and isn't alive. That's the whole like Schrodinger's cat thing. It's kind of hard to explain. I'm not here to do philosophy and give you just, all these like breakdowns on all these concepts and stuff. Hey, we're not here to do that. We're here to talk about Pokemon, okay? We're not going to get that deep. But what he's saying here, what he's implying is, it's like the case of Schrodinger's cat, implying that it both is and isn't, a successful execution of his plans, right? Basically what he does, like him, having a full stacked out team, being fully armed, all this stuff for Kieran, both does work out and doesn't work out. Like the way you view it, it's like the way you look at it can be different, right? And if you can't see how it goes, then it's hard to determine, did he, succeed in his plans or did he not? It both is and isn't happening. So We'll continue on, and as in quantum mechanics terms, the cat's ability to be in an ambiguous state of both alive and dead until it's observed when someone opens the box is referred to as a quantum intermittence. Oh my jeez. Or observer's paradox. The paradox states that an event or an experiment's observer affect its outcome. In this case, whomever is performing this hypothetical experiment can affect whether the cat remains in an unknown state, or they can open the box and know if the cat is dead or alive with 100% certainty. The experiment also points out when the resolution of a possibility occurs, the experiment is intended to make people ask themselves if it was logical for the observation to trigger the answer. After all, wouldn't the cat be either dead or alive even if we never opened the box? True. Exactly. And then here, of course, he had a picture of the old lady where he says she is sus, and then the little Dokutaro right there. Literally, you guys can literally see it. It's literally right there. So, again, just worthwhile bringing it up. And then, of course, here we had the post from Matt. This is actually a literal, data mine from the first DLC. Scarlet Violet 2.0.1 patch also included text entries for text you'll be seeing during battles. This includes BB League, which is, of course, the brand new Elite Four, Kieran, Kodaikame. Kodaikame, by the way, is the actual name for that first, and this is the name I was looking for earlier, by the way, on PokeOS and stuff. Kodaikame is going to be the name of Terrapagos. That's basically also by accident been confirmed by the mistranslation of the most recent Pokemon anime episode, when he accidentally said its name. Kodaikame is its name. There's also one for Zombie Man, Zombie Old, Zombies, Nemona, Arven, Penny, Dokutaro. And then, of course, Kodaikame and Dokutaro are notable. And what could zombies be? And then here it says, found a storyline quest in Indigo Disc that involves a few characters. Friend, Arven, Rival, Nemona, Botan, Penny, Mama, Brother Kieran, Sister Carmen, G-Father, and G-Mother. The actual plot or any relevance to the main story, DLC story, is unknown as of yet. And here's what he has to say. Spoilery, but here it is. Like zombies. It took 99% out of context on what Ku was talking about. I won't cover the main tweet because there's some story spoilers, but just mentioning Schrodinger's cat made me think of the Dokutaro shenanigans and what it could have done to the people of Kitakami. Like his mama or grandmother from the data mine. I also just realized that Schrodinger's cat is also my personal constant state of mind when it comes to Pokemon. Yes, it's very accurate. Here we have a few people with some theories saying this explains the picture of Ku posted of Quincy Giselle. So this is a picture they actually posted. This is a character from Bleach. They say this might explain the picture of Ku posted of Quincy Giselle. She is a stern ritter who can resurrect the dead with her blood or other fluid. Either that or something can bring the back dead to life in the next DLC. So it could be the case. That actually is possible. I doubt that TPC will include legitimate zombies, but it could be seen those terms being used internally for, say, people mind controlled by Dokutaro, and that's exactly what it seems to be pointing at. And here, of course, back in 1st of October, he says it's October 1st, so let me introduce you to the most sus character of them all in Kitakami, this lady. Again, there is an inclusion here of, G-Father and G-Mother, and there is a mention of Zombie Man and Zombie Old. So Old could be literally this old lady. Maybe she's been controlled by him the whole time. Maybe she's the one spreading these little mochis or whatever they are, giving them to people, selling them to people, and spreading, Dokutaro's influence and power, making it into its complete form. We'll have to wait and see. Then he says, how can something so little, precious, and helpless be world-ending terror? Could it really be the one potentially terrestrializes and controls others? And put Heath in a trance, filled an imbalanced ecosystem with Paradox Pokemon, set up the Paradox Protocol and to fight children, protects a treasure that is a reality-warping weapon, wants its Terra Crystal Paradise to take over Palea and even the entire world. Is it possible for this little twerp-looking thing, little turtle that's goofy like this, is it possible for it to do that? I don't know what to say. My past theories for reference. He says here, the third legendary is notorious for controlling others. Its eyes are on all Terra hats. It once took over Heath, and I also believe its Paradise Protection Protocol. So it must have taken over the Professor in the past, and now the AI too. I found a hidden message when the final battle, second battle against AI Turo. His dialogue flickers, and we see the same blocked out writing that we only see when the 3L is being written about. Third legendary, sorry. In that flickering, two curious lines pass by. One that's a mix of all the words, but there's a random D. It's almost like the beginning of the third legendary's name, which could be Dokutaro, right? Because it says a random D. So if we look through here, a phantom memory. During exploration of Area Zero's depths, I, Heath, strayed from the team and was later found unconscious. When awoken, I can only recall speaking with someone in an unfamiliar place, as if in a dream. I was found holding a page shown. Here, the handwriting is my own, but I have no memory of writing this. While separated from a research team in the crater's depths, I found a strange entity. Whether it was a Pokemon or even alive at all, I know not. It bore a small, I guess? Wait, a shell. Ooh, a shell with layers overlapping hexagons and gleamed brighter still than gemstone. Viewed as a whole, it resembled a mysterious brilliant disc, I guess that's what he's trying to say here. But either way, and here you can see the battle against the actual, the professors. They say here, you are challenged by Paradise Protection Protocol. You are challenged by and then it says the Tura on. Wait, so it literally says a Tud on all. So the D is in there, and his name is of course Turo and whatnot. So the TU makes sense. But the Doku, like it could be like Dokutaro being trying to be mentioned here. You know what I mean? Could be the actual word that's being said. You're challenged by literally Dokutaro. I'm sorry, children. You must run. AI Tour disabled the Paradise Protection Protocol initialized. We've determined that this energy crystallization is linked to a being called something. The interlocking hexagonal plates that comprise Terrapagos' shell must somehow cause this. Terrapagos' shell must somehow cause this phenomena, which is dubbed terrestrializing. So, of course, Terrapagos is involved with that. But again, this is an old tweet, and we don't really know if it holds any value anymore. But let's continue. Spoilery. So this is again about this thingy we talked about earlier. We have, of course, Giselle, which can res people, and of course this thingy which can create, this character who can literally create these like little dumplings. So dumplings, you say. These all feel very connected. In the tale of Momotaro, he bribes 3 animals to join him in battle against the Oni with millet dumplings. Interesting, okay? We know Dokutaro and the Loyal 3 is the tail flipped, so Dokutaro could give parts of himself, the toxic chains, to have power over the Loyal 3. Or this could be completely unrelated to the Loyal 3, but instead, and there may be another scenario in the DLC where Dokutaro or something else, uses an item to control others. I still feel like it's Dokutaro related. Like, I feel like this makes total sense. I do think it is Dokutaro giving pieces of itself to control others, right? Literally splitting itself into pieces and creating parts of itself, because it is literally a peach at the end of the day, a fruit. So it literally is food, okay? Spreading itself that way makes total sense, especially with the old lady selling stuff at that store. Again, let's move on. Holy moly, this video is already 47 minutes long, so we've been going for a while. Either way, we know out of the 3 Titan-like boss battles. So yes, this is mentioned in the actuals. After the actual data mine, I have some additional pondering. I can verify the following: Futatsuno Suna Su 113001 Terrestrial form Terrapagos, Futatsuno SU 113002 unknown form Terrapagos, and then there is a presumable Dokutaro one right there. So there is basically a terrestrial form of Terrapagos, an unknown form of Terrapagos, and then a presumably form of Dokutaro as well, which helps confirm my initial suspicion that basically, that 1021 is Terrapagos, which could be the case here. And then also here, Matt is suggesting that 2 of the battles will be against Terrapagos in its Terra form, and then another battle against it in its unknown form that we recently just discovered. Well, the last battle could be another Pokemon, but he thinks it's likely to be the Momotaro Pokemon. The reason 2 is Terrapagos battles makes sense. Here is because they are the same ID number, 11301 and 11302, because the other one is 11300, right? So that's a brand new Pokemon, brand new form, brand new battle. Ultimately, I'm pretty disappointed at this. It could imply breakdown in some hours, but yeah. So that's all for this series. Which one is the most difficult to decode? The answer was posted way before the series began. See you next. Imagine time. How will they show it in the game? Hint, 1 by 1. So kind of creepy. Okay. But again, we'll have to wait and see how this actually applies. But here is basically what he said. So we know out of the 3 Titan-like boss battles, 2 of them will be Terrapagos. However, after some things Ku said, I want to suggest that the other boss battle might not be against Dokutaro, but against the Diplin Evo. Ooh, could be, because think about it, Blood Moon Ursaluna kind of works in a similar way as well. Think about it. Ku said they show it in-game 1 by 1. In what other context could that be, other than a boss-like battle? I don't know. This could still be wrong, and it could just be that the special Glimora battle, but it does really, it does seem like it should be Diplin too. Could be Diplin. Moving on. So here we have a bunch of posts again relating different things. One of the posts was the one we looked at earlier of like the Diplin, so the Dokutaro Pokemon itself. And basically somebody asked here, will a child emerge from inside? Not a child. That's what he says. I don't think this is related to what Ku was saying, not a child, related to Dokutaro instead of Kieran, but I've been wanting to ask this question. I wonder if any time will pass between the end of the main plot of Scarlet and Violet and the Indigo disc. Obviously not a huge amount of time, because a player character would look older, but I'm perplexed how Kieran could go from a weak 14-year-old kid to the champion of the strongest championship in Gen 9. Maybe some amount of time has passed for him to grow and become stronger. That could be the case, but we'll have to wait and see how they actually explain that off. But yeah, not child. Oh, this was supposed to be, and again, this is the tweet we looked at earlier. Moving on. Here's actually a really cool concept here from Paldean Mixel. I'm actually going to give him a follow. But yeah, I saw a video about it, and I tried to make an evolution of Diplin and what it might be looking like. I actually think it's a really cool concept. Personally, I think it looks sick. Shout out to them. Might use this in the thumbnail because it just looks cool. Moving on. And there's actually a theory about the character that Ogerpon in the story. Again, if you haven't played Kitakami, it's going to be very out of the loop for you, but it's kind of in the context of that. What if the man that brought the Ogerpon and the Terra Crystals to Kitakami wasn't a man at all, but instead was this mysterious gorilla-looking Pokemon we see in Heath's Scarlet and Violet book about Area Zero? This would add up because of the people of Kitakami feared both Ogerpon and this man for looking so different from them. If he was just a man, why would they fear him? Exactly, and he wasn't wearing a mask. And remember... Oh, this makes total sense. Remember what we thought. Remember what Carmen thought about Ogerpon. She thought it was a little kid. She thought it was a human child because it was wearing the mask. Until we finally got closer enough and the mask fell off, and then we realized, oh, it's literally a Pokemon. It's not a human. Is it possible that whatever this thing is isn't even a human? This is a literal Pokemon as well. That would be really interesting. And I wonder, if it is a Pokemon, what Pokemon is it? What connection does it have? He says, this would add up because the people of Kitakami feared both Ogerpon and this man for looking so different from them. If he was just a man, why would they fear him? Also, he would be from Area Zero, which is how he would have Terra Crystals in his possession. Is he literally a caveman? Is he literally a caveman? Is he time travel caveman? I don't know. Is it Heath? Is it a paradox of Heath? I don't know. Also, he would be from Area Zero, which is how he would have Terra Crystals in his possession. Lastly, a gorilla Pokemon could easily pass for a man if it stood upright and walked like a man. But this all just is wild. Probably unlikely, fun theory. I've been wanting to go more in depth on the details of this man and his relationship to Ogerpon, Kitakami, and Area Zero, and all the events that transpired in the Teal Mask storyline. So expect more to come. And we'll cover anything that he does post, because I think it's actually really cool whenever you guys like out there make, posts and stuff, like Soul makes them, Pen Paladin makes them too, and just a bunch of people. So, if you do make posts, feel free to tag me on Twitter. Literally just go tag @RuffledRowlit. If you have any theories you want to share, just send them my way, because I would love to just have a look at them and all that. So feel free to share them with me. But either way, let's move on to the next thing. This one. So, was I the only one that didn't really like Terrapagos' Terraform 3D model the first time we saw it? Well, I don't really know, man. Just to add, he continues on. Looks better in the recent trailers, but it actually looks like a disc shape there. Still, I'm not sure. Do you think Terrapagos is the Indigo disc, or is the disc a special plot item? I think it might be the Indigo disc. Just to add to this, I fully believe that the Terrastall formed Terrapagos is meant to be symbolize something looking like a blueberry too. Just like Ogerpon was a citrus tree, Game Freak went really heavy into the fruit motif in Disc Gen 9. And I know that it should be obvious that Terrapagos has to be flat, belly flat on its underbelly, but it's just funny looking. Interesting, do they have the type symbols on them too? And if not, why? And weird looking too, lol. Lastly, I know Terrapagos has been labeled as a disc Pokemon, but there's still no explanation to its connection to a disc other than its shape, apparently. I just wonder if there's more after the literal Teal Mask was an item that was also the title of Part 1. That's true. Shouldn't Part 2's title also be named for an important item? It could be possible that the disc is something that Terrapagos needs, like the baby version. I literally forget its name again. We literally looked at the name 2 seconds ago. I can't really find it right now, but we know the name of the baby version. Is it possible the baby version, once given the disc, transforms into this form, right? Maybe that's what happens. Maybe the baby version, right, is actually the real Terrapagos, or whatever its name is. And then this version here would be like the similar to how we give the mask to, Ogerpon. Similar to that. Is that the case? Maybe not. I don't know. But it is interesting though, like you mentioned here, is that like, you literally have to give a literal teal mask to it to get it to like actually transform. Again, we're gonna have to wait and see. Moving on to the next thing, which is actually the biggest one for you guys who are excited for the DLC, which is, reminder, the Scarlet and Violet Hisuian Zoroark distribution for buying the hidden treasure of Area Zero ends in 2 weeks on October 31st. And this was posted on the 17th, so this was like at the beginning of this week on Tuesday, which means, yeah, we should be seeing the announcement of the next DLC very, very soon. A few days after this ends, could be the time to announce a new Pokemon distribution to promote Part 2, the Indigo Disc, and bind a DLC for those that haven't bought it yet. I definitely think the latest we get a new trailer is the first week of November, but the earliest could even be tomorrow. We're in the window, in my opinion. So yes, I do think we might be seeing this, not today, maybe not today, because it's Friday today, but it could still happen. Keep in mind, anything is possible. But I do think it's more likely we're going to see this next week announced. Between Monday to, Wednesday, I would argue, around that range, we might actually see it announced. So I think next week we're going to see this happen, but we're going to have to wait and see if it actually does pan out. Nonetheless, though, I think it's worthwhile bringing it up. Next up, though, everyone keeps saying the Minior, and this, again, we already talked about this a little bit, but yes, it is possible that the actual Dokutaro might open up into something similar to the Tapus. Moving to the next thing, this is a big post right here. So, spoilery, time to update this. Now that Ku's also talking about terraforms, and then here is basically a post down here where he talked about the terrestrialized states and the terrestrialized form. They can stack, all that kind of stuff. Kurata, Miraidon, the Terrapagos will have a battle state similar to the Ogerpon in DLC 1. In other words, in DLC 2, these legendaries will continue to be buffed. So, again, I even forgot about them, so it could be possible that when he wrote 3 out of 8, it could actually imply that, well, it could be about 3 Pokemon specifically getting those special forms. Either way, spoilery, time to update this now that Ku is talking about terraforms. First, while anything is possible, I recently found out that the battle states have already existed in Pokemon games forever. According to Bulbapedia, they are literally just conditions that change the state of a Pokemon in battle. The list is so long that these couldn't screenshot them all. So, the link is here as well. And then basically, I guess, like, the different, battle states, critical hit boost, confusion, volatile battle states, I guess whatever way you want to, kind of put it. But he continues on and says the following. This means that 3 names of battle states data mined from the Scarlet and Violet DLC that we thought could be forms also equally have the possibility to be the effect of moves or terrain and weather or abilities on a Pokemon during battle instead of a form change in battle. So I think maybe, is it more related to this instead? Wait. Let's go back to the website. If we go to the DLC again, here we go. So if we go to the DLC, can we check out specifically, individually? I want to see if we can find the actual, the DLC on its own. So let's see, overview, no, news. So I think they actually made a post about this, if I'm not mistaken. Just got to find like the split on the DLC here, because there's got to be a post where they actually, split these two up, but I'm not sure where to find it. Because if you actually look at the DLC, there is like a moment where they mention the different like, gameplay stuff that's going to be happening. So I think if we go, is it in this page? I don't think it's in this page. Let's see. Let's go back to news and let's scroll down a little bit. Here, this is what I'm talking about. So basically, is it possible that this battle state has to do with either the inclusion of new, maybe not new moves, but there is like, for example, the 19th Terra type as an example. That's one. Is it possible that one of those 3 out of 8, and again, I'm referring to the previous tweet that Ku made where he said 3 out of 8 and what that is. Is it possible that 3 out of 8 is specifically 3 out of 8 battle states have been shown to us? One of those could be the 19th Terra type. That's like one of them that you actually get access to. That's one. Is it possible that's one of them? And then the other 2 could be maybe some abilities or states that happen that we just, have kind of forgotten about, but maybe they're like they were shown in one of the DLCs, because I know there are new abilities that are going to be added. Like Arcaludon will have a new ability, I'm pretty sure. And there's going to be another ability for, I'm not sure, like one of the other Pokemon that, like, we know about, but that could be the case here. Again, highly possible it isn't, but it is very strange that they're, it just connects well enough. Now he says, if you look specifically at what the Chinese Riddler said too, he never says Koraidon and Miraidon get new forms, but just that they get something that would make them even stronger in battles. Similar to, but not the same as how Ogerpon was made so much stronger in battle. This brings us to the new battle state that Game Freak recently introduced in the Scarlet and Violet DLC, the Terrastall state, which is just an ability or item that affects a Pokemon, Ogerpon, when it terrestrializes in battle. So yeah, that could be the case. So I think what Ku teased Terraforms versus Terra States, he's saying that the Terraforms that fans have been waiting for are probably just Terra States. Yes, so basically the items influence it to make it look slightly different when it like is in its Terra form. As of right now, we don't know which Pokemon will get these Terra states, but these 3 leaked battle states may or may not be related to an actual Terra states. We do know that Terrapagos is an official Terrastall form, but then it could get a Terra state on top of that, which I think is what Ku means by they can stack. So we can assume that at the very least, Terrapagos will get a Terra state. Could be the case. Gonna have to wait and see if that's going to be the case though, but interesting nonetheless. Moving on, we only have a few more posts to go. So here is again a post about that Lucemon. He says, the Sphere of Terrapagos, the deceptive evil nature of Dokutaro, the 7 heads of Dipling's Evo, and plus 1 Pokemon that burns everything. Which is it? Or something related to the plot and not a Pokemon. And again, this is again the Pokemon we talked about earlier. He says, forget what it's attached to. And then here, Primordial Rylia says, apparently this Digimon represents the 7 deadly sins, which is interesting. But he's saying like here to kind of forget what it's attached to. I guess forget what the relationship is between this actual creature. I don't really know. But nonetheless, it is very strange. Nonetheless, I don't really know what else to say about this. Apparently this Digimon represents the 7 deadly sins. There's a lot of different ways I guess you can interpret it. Yeah, it could be that the 7 treasures, that or 7 hidden treasures, because Necrene Museum has a mask and crystals in Unova, which could be a retcon for a modern storyline, but in Japanese, Necrene means 7 treasures, and this is the hidden treasure of Area 0. 7 Deadly Sins was done by Ultra Beast in Gen 7 already, so they could always reuse it, I guess, right? They could always really just reuse it. But yeah, here you also have, wait a second, what if the +1 Pokemon actually is actually a Pokemon that we can catch, but also not, similar to Rabska. And then here he includes a picture of Lucemon Larva, which is a larva form of it, Demon God Virus, which, whoa, okay, Demon God Virus. I mean, a virus is very similar to what we have with Dokutaro, because he's literally going to infect them. How are zombies created? Usually with an infection. Wow, this is all really weird. Nonetheless, let's move on to the next thing, because this video is an hour long, oh my lord. Either way, we're already talking about this. Let's see if there's anything else. This one is actually interesting. So, putting all these pictures together actually makes Ku's Dokutaro riddles make a lot more sense. One picture with dumplings in his head. So again, here we have, you know, Dokutaro. He's traveling with the creatures here. A little bird, a little dog, and a little monkey. You know, it's literally what we have. You know, the Pheasantipede, Monkey Dory, and Okidogi, right? You literally have them. Literally traveling together. It's a literal thing. And here we have a depiction of the Peach Boy, how he's born, literally inside of the peach, cracking open and getting out of it. It's insane. Literally, that's the actual depiction of it. It's insane. It says it makes it a little more sense. One picture pic with dumplings in his hands. Others were as the peach opens, he's born. One where he's literally a man and not a child. I've seen these pictures. It's crazy that many people never thought that there would also be a Momotaro Pokemon with the Loyal 3. He's really the main character, lol. Yes, he literally is. Literally Kieran with new haircuts, which yeah, kind of does look like him a little bit. It's kind of true, man. I'm not even gonna lie. Not even gonna lie, it's kind of accurate. Super interesting. I wonder whose form was cut, though. And here is Ku saying, did you know one of the former mightiest Pokemon is supposed to be Terrestrialized state, but failed to debut because of some technical problems? So again, who could that be? Super interesting. I wonder whose form was cut. Also, it's a very important post for everyone in and outside of the Pokemon League community. This is just one small example of how things can change development. Therefore, sometimes people will leak things, but then what was leaked early may end up cut or changed when they and then they sound fake, like fake leakers. The bottom line is some leakers aren't as straightforward as just a real and fake leak. Things can come in development, which is true. So, moving on to the, I think, final thing. I'm sorry I have to stress the line. I think twice before answering. So here was again the Ku post where he says, what's the counterpart of these terms in Gen 8? Think twice before the answer. And again, it's about, because I thought Dynamax, Gigantamax, the most logical one. I'm sorry I've stressed the line, think twice before answering. This means that the answer probably isn't the first thing that pops into your head. And it's probably not the most obvious option either. So for everyone saying Terrastall's Gen 8 counterpart is Dynamax to Gmax, sadly think twice. I don't want to say it, but it clears up everything for me now. And again, I wonder what he's trying to like say here or what he's hiding, because if you think about like what he's showing here is a picture of Rose with you know, Eternatus. Now Eternatus has 2 different forms, right? If we think about it, so let's just go look up let's just look up Eternatus real quick. Now if you look at Eternatus, you have a weird way to look at it, right? So you got the Eternatus like regular form, and then you have the Eternamax, you know, Eternatus, which technically is it Dynamaxed, I guess you could say. You know, it powered up, you know, to, you know, like, I guess it's the powered up form of it, which, you know, is literally just, I don't know how to even explain that, but basically here forms. If Eternatus absorbs a massive amount of energy at once, it will enter its Eternamax form, which is said to be its true appearance, and it's far larger. So, is it possible that what he's trying to say here is that, you know, like, it's similar to that. It's similar to Eternatus in the sense that, you know, is it going to have a Terrastall state or a Terrastall form? Oh my god, okay, wait. So, basically, the baby version is just a regular version of it. Then, the Terrapagos form that, you know, when it's a big giant turtle, that would be it's like, you know, the equivalent of just regular Eternatus. And then the Eternamax will be its own version of a Terrastall form, like, you know, kind of just its own like big version, but it's not necessarily connected to a brand new feature like a, you know, Terraform, like, you know, like we had a Terramax or whatever, like we used to call it as a theory, which I don't know, man. It seems like the most logical case. Either way, though, people are saying, I never seen that Chairman Rose card, which, yeah, it's a cool one. I'm thinking of how Calyrax had its own blue Dynamax energy, or how Zacian, Zamazenta, Eternatus were unable to Dynamax at all. Right, because technically, that's the thing, right? It's called Eternamax, and I think that's the problem. There's a lot of the word max being used everywhere. Shout out to my boy Max, by the way, who runs a YouTube channel. But Eternamax, Eternatus, you would think that would imply that it's it's a Dynamaxed Pokemon. But it isn't. I guess technically it's just a form. So is it the similar case here? Because Eternamax is kind of the reason, you know, Eternatus, Eternamax is the reason that Dynamaxing exists. It's the thing that causes it, right? It's the literal Pokemon that causes it to happen. So is it the similar case here where Terrapagos is literally the Pokemon that causes it, so it can't terrestrialize because it literally is the concept of terrestrializing. Like, it is literally the concept of terrestrializing. It's what causes it, so it can't do it itself. So when he says here, is it a terrestrialized state or a Terrastall form? Maybe it is neither of them. Maybe it's literally neither, because it's just a evolution. It's just a form of itself. So the closest it would be, I guess, is a Terrastall form, which a Terrastall form is literally just an item causing it to change. So maybe a disc given to it to change into what, like, its true form, I guess, right? Its final true form. But nonetheless, though, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be the end of the video. It's been a long one. My throat hurts. So I want to thank you all for watching. I'll be seeing you guys in the next one. Again, thank you all for being here. Thank you for watching these long videos. I know they're really long, but I try to keep them longer like this so you guys can just put them in the background, enjoy them in the back. Please let me know in the comment section down below if you made it this far. Just comment Dokutaro in the comment section down below so I know you made it this far into the video. And also maybe comment telling me, hey, I like these long videos, or hey, I don't like these long videos. I want shorter ones. Please let me know. Either way, thank you all for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out and bye-bye.